All right, good afternoon again, everyone. I'm Tyrell Gittens from the GYBN Caribbean Steering Committee. And this afternoon, we are once again joined by the incredible Katrina Khan Roberts. This is the second part of her presentation on membership engagement. Please feel free to ask questions and really make it a conversation. What I'm seeing everyone here so far was here yesterday. I don't think Shavana was here. Welcome. It's nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please feel free to ask questions, talk to, well, not of course, well, Katrina, well, of course, not while Katrina is presenting, but when she, opens up the floor and gives the um, invitation for everyone to join the conversation, please do so. So I don't think I need to introduce Katrina already. We have it on the first recording. As she speaks, you're gonna learn about all the incredible things that she do. And yes, Katrina, please feel free to take over the floor.
Thank you so much, Tyrell. Again, welcome everyone to the second membership engagement session with the wonderful Global Youth Biodiversity Network. I hope that you all had a good time yesterday and that today will be just as invigorating. Yesterday, we spoke about the individual self and what engages the individual member, volunteer, whatever nomenclature you want to use. And just a little bit of a recap. I said that your engagement levels are directly connected to your needs, right? Your Maslow hierarchy of needs. Once you meet your needs, you then are engaged and you get engagement in the things that you're passionate about. Now, from an organizational level is what we're going to discuss today. And the perspective of the organization, we're looking at GYBN today, right? Why are you here and what are you bringing to the organization? And then what is the organization bringing to you, right? So that's what we're thinking about today. All of us here are here to do something. We're all here to do the work of, in this case, biodiversity advocacy, advocating for the environment, propelling our careers forward, working together as a community, which is what I said yesterday. It's kind of like you found your family, right? So these people that you are going to be in this group with and engaging with are kind of a family. They are formed family. They are a group that you work with towards a certain goal and objective, right? So this is me alone. So you can't do much impact when it's just you alone. Yeah. So this is just this picture comparison was just to show that more hands make lighter work because me alone in that little corner kind of looking sad, right? So you have to ask yourself, both as an individual and as an organization, what do I want to accomplish, right? In this case, Tara will probably have to give us a little insight later after my presentation on what the goals and objectives are for GYBN in the Caribbean region, right? Now we know that the Caribbean is vastly biodiverse. It's an amazing place to be as a scientist, right? From my perspective, as a little bit of zoology side, we were, as Trinidad and Tobago, part of South America. So we're very unique because we have all of that wonderful, rich bioflora, biofauna, everything, right? And then we also have the amazing isolation that came with being an island for the past, 10,000 years or how much ever years it was, right? And that allowed us to have a lot of unique biodiversity. In my perspective of wanting to protect that biodiversity is that I want to educate and connect people who are living with this biodiversity. So you can't tell me that you're living in a remote area in Trinidad and you're going to kill every snake that's coming into your home because you are in the snake's home, right? So my motivation is to educate the people who are in the environment and closely relating to the biodiversity in the environment, right? That would be my perspective and my engagement. So the question to you is, what do you want to accomplish? And does it align with the organization? Now, training, I always say, is the foundation of anything, right? If you cannot come from a stance of understanding something, you will always be on the wrong side of it. And you're not going to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. So you engage, you set that foundation in motion, and you make sure that you have a strong basis on which to build the rest of your advocacy, your membership, your action, right? And to me, knowledge and science-based data is the best foundation. As you know, we know that data changes over time, science changes all the time as well. But the current science, you have to keep on top of it. If there's a new piece of information, you have to know about it because that is going to inform your actions and how your actions are going to, step forward. Engaging is also about not just one community. You have to bring everybody together. The great thing about the environment and the ecosystem is that everything is connected. So like I said, if you have a good foundation on which you build the rest of your structure and the rest of your planning processes, the rest of your goals and objectives, and the rest of the things that you want to achieve, that is where the collaboration part of it comes in. And humans are a social creature. So with engagement, you get that, feeding to being in a community. The next step is to impart onto the next generation. Now, all of us here are youth, right? But I am 35, so I'm on the way out of being a youth, right? Whereas I could be impacting somebody who's 16 and just coming into the youth space and sharing what I have learned and let that person have that leg up so that they understand where I have been and then also where they have to go in the current climate, if that makes any sense. So when you're trying to engage, you have to think about impacting the previous as well as the ones that are coming after, right? So just now I won't be a youth anymore, but I still want to make sure that there's a generational wealth of information shared between myself and the young people. We may not always connect, we may not always be able to understand each other, but that is the point, that the youth at least has the opportunity to learn from the experiences of those who came before and then adapt to the current situations that they are in, right? And that is engagement as well. You have to have, carrying on of the legacy of the organization as well. You can't expect that when you lose someone that there's nobody to fill the spaces, right? If anybody could help me with the words, but it's like longevity planning. So engagement is something that is ongoing because you have to make sure that you engage the people who are leaving to leave that data behind for the younger generations who are coming in. So that is definitely something you have to think about when I'm talking about engagement. And you have to have fun. So this is a picture of my very first fun paint in my entire life. So I'm on Oddity because I am a scientific and data-driven person, but I also have a very creative side in both words and visual arts. And I thought that, this was such a great example of how humans are. We are very social creatures. We like to be stimulated. Our minds always have to be working, right? And we can stimulate our minds in different ways because we are not just one thing. We all have a range of emotions, a range of things that we want to accomplish in our lives. So that is why you have to have diversity. And, they say diversity is the spice of life. So that's where that came in. And then there's also like I was saying before, the bridges between the generations. So we have to make sure that you're able to see yourself, your community grow. Everybody's going to be in different phases of their lives. Engagement is going to be high and low, dropping and going. People are going to be going through personal changes as well. We have to be aware be gracious, be kind, be empathetic, sympathetic, um, understand that life is not the same for all of us, and we have to celebrate our diversity and make sure that we are there for each other in order to achieve the goals of the organization and of ourselves. Right. So this was my last set of advocacy stuff. So the main thing in this picture is that you have a teacher, a journalist, and a student, right? And then me taking the picture because I'm always behind the camera. It's either me taking a selfie or I'm behind the camera, right? Because I like to show that this is the work that is being done. So in this picture, you can see multiple things going on, right? You have the logo of the organization. Always brand the organization. The engagement aspect comes when you can share your information with the outside people, and they are going to identify you by your logo, by your name, by certain tags that you're going to have to use. Like we have hashtags now. Back when I had started, we didn't really have social media and stuff like that too. So these are all developmental tools and stuff like that. Right. I mean, when I started social media, it was High Five and MySpace. For those of you who may know what that is. And I mean, marketing tools now is like all social media all the time. So that's that one aspect of this picture, right? You're seeing a certificate. That is a physical, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a physical manifestation of the activity that you just completed, right? Not always will you get a physical certificate. You are going to get the experience. You're going to get the knowledge. You are going to get that muscle memory, right? So doing something just for a certificate is not always the best thing to do because you could be losing out on something that is going to impact the way that you think for the rest of your life if you're only looking at certificates, right? The skills that you learn and the skills that you are going to, the muscles that you're going to be exercising in your brain and in your physical self, right? You know that people say that you can't do something unless you practice. If you do not practice to do the things that you want to do, right, you're not going to be able to develop that skill to become a master of your skill. Now, for me, I'm not a master of any skill. I just like to do everything, right? So I'm literally just like a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? But that makes me happy because I know I can do a lot of things and my brain jumps around a lot. But it's funny because the focus that I've always had was on the environment, specifically marine biology and stuff like that, and focusing on a sustainable future. And then you have the I Had the Caribbean. So the thing about it is it's a scale. You always scale up your projects. You try to make sure that it's something that could impact not just you, your community, your country. You always try to grow as much as you can and develop these things so that they have a bigger impact than just you. And your legacy that you are going to leave behind is going to impact all of these communities, all of these people that you've met, all of the work that you have done, right? And then also in this picture, you're seeing multiple projects that have come together. So there was the Power Up campaign, and then there was the I Heart the Caribbean campaign. So everything develops going over and over, overlapping, doing good work. Doing good work does not often mean that you're doing one thing and one thing alone. You're going to overlap with other organizations, other people who are doing the same thing. And that's just the life that we live because the human world that we live in, there's nothing new. Everything is just going to be repurposed and redone over and over again. Hopefully until we can figure ourselves out in the future. And of course, remember the goal of this organization in particular is biodiversity focused, right? Great. So I hope I didn't ramble too much there because the main thing about being in an organization and being engaged in an organization, it can look like project management. So if you want to raise your hands, anybody here who's focusing on project management for their degree or their master's or anything like that. Project management is something that you apply in every phase of your life. Even if you're cooking, you have to have, that is a project, right? A project is something that has definitive goals, definitive end requirements, and a time frame. So you think of your career then, or your advocacy work or your membership of GYBN, right? You're initiating, if it is that you've just joined, you sign your registration, you make sure that you're present for your training, your orientations and stuff like that. And then from there, when the organization interacts with you, they're going to be starting to plan, what can I do with this wonderful human resource that is going to be putting time, energy, effort into the group that we are doing, right? So that's the planning phase. And then the execution phase is where you start bringing all of these talented people together to create an action, right? And then you have the monitoring and control, which is very important because why do something if we don't know it's going to have an impact? Am I correct? And then, of course, completion at the end of it. Have we achieved the goals and the things that we set out in our planning phase? And, the sky's the limit after that. Once you have achieved that, you can then scale up and scale towards other organizations. So we know GYBN Caribbean has its own flavor, has its own projects that it would be focusing on programs. So a program is something different to a project. A project has a set start and end, whereas a program will span multiple years, right? And multiple generations until, success and whatever measure has been found. So I want you to apply this now to think about you, yourself, and where you are in the organization and know where it is that you have to go and keep your engagement going. So again, just like last time, it's phases and stages. How do you keep your members inspired? And how do you have your goals accomplished? Right? This is the organization's perspective now. And as you can see, bridging the human, individual, and the organization is not that hard. We just have to meet in the middle, right? If it is that you're not feeling inspired, you have to tell your organization and then they will adjust to suit. If the organization is not getting their goals, they're going to have to tell you how that, we're going to have to work towards our goals. It's all about communication, just like any relationship. And that is what is going to drive engagement as well. So, in conclusion, everything requires goals, resources, time, and planning. And moving with the outcomes of projects or programs is going to drive engagement as well. Sustainability, again, because like I said before, you can't do anything on an empty stomach. You can't do anything without funding. As much as I grew up in this space doing everything out of pocket, after a little while, it just does not make sense. Not dollars and cents only, but you can't. It's the same way they say, like, influencers, you can't buy something with exposure. It's the same thing. You can't get, you need to have that balance. You cannot sustain constantly pouring out of your own cup because your cup is going to be emptied if nothing is going in. So that is something that you need to think about, both as the organization, as the individual, how you're going to reach that sustainable balance. And it also takes inspiration, energy, invigoration, and that will lead to true engagement. So thank you so much, and we are opening the floor to questions. Please feel free to unmute. All right, let me just check the chat. So I'm seeing succession. All right, now I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So I'm going to hand back over to Tyrell. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Katrina. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time that you have taken these past 2 days. Yeah, the sun is setting. I'm starting to get dark on my end. And sorry for whoever is playing Drake in the background, but Team Kendrick over here. But yeah, so sorry, sorry, that just got me all distracted. But thank you so much, Katrina, for taking time over the past today is to share your experiences with our members. I really hope that it inspires them to um, participate more, get more involved in the committees that they have chosen, particularly for those that would have signed up for the membership committee. I really think it's powerful and impactful for someone to hear from someone like yourself who has a vast amount of experiences, doing work in this field throughout the Caribbean. Um, I think I have a question for you, and I'll ask you. I think my question, on behalf of everyone here in this group, is just overall, any inspiring message that you want to leave with them about the power that they have as individuals, just being part of this group. Sometimes we feel that we are just volunteers and maybe we aren't doing much, but would you just give some inspiring and closing words on that power of the individual in a collective like this?
Thank you. Yes, that's a great question. So, as somebody who likes to be part of a community, um, I felt like if I needed to be everything at one point or the other to try and make sure that everything would happen the way that it was supposed to happen. But I realized very quickly, excuse me 1 second, my baby's in the background. So when you try to do everything, sometimes you can't because not one person can do everything. Yeah. So that is definitely something inspiring I want to share with you all is that you can try to do as many things as you want to do. You want to do as much as you can. You plan ahead to accomplish all your goals and everything that you want out of life, but also depend on your community. Feel free to make sure that you are able to, balance your time, your personal life. It's not it's not going to do well for the organization and the organization's goals and objectives if you burn yourself out. Speaking from somebody who has on multiple occasions, right? My life has been a roller coaster, up, down, and all around. And with different levels of inspiration, different life, problems that have happened. The onset of children, as you just heard, has been a real roller coaster in itself as well. Give yourself grace, give yourself time. Don't worry about it too much. The anxieties that we are feeling, even with, climate crisis and environmental collapse and all these things that are happening, how we're going to just get by, it gets heavy and you have to learn to take care of yourself in order to take care of the organization. And of course, the organization will take care of you in return, right? So I think it's all about communication as well, making sure that everybody knows what they're about, making sure everybody is kept accountable of their responsibilities is a very, very important one. You make sure that you uphold all of the roles that you are supposed to have within your capacity. And if you are finding trouble in, achieving what it is you're setting out to do, sometimes it's good to meet with your peers and make sure that you have a second or third mind to bounce things off of, right? Also, another thing is that you're going to meet a lot of people with different backgrounds and different ways of thinking, different personality types, everything under the rainbow. Yeah. And that is a learning process. That is something that you are going to probably have to grow into and decide for yourself how you're going to treat with the community that you have chosen, because this is a found family, basically, right? You're going to have to work together for the success of the family. I'm not going to sound like it was the mafia. But it is really for the good of the family because the good of the family is the good of the goal, which is biodiversity, advocacy, and awareness building. So yeah, and just remember also, keep yourself up to date with all of your membership and stuff like that with the organization, because that's the way the organization is going to fulfill your goals and objectives in retail. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
All right, thank you very much, Katrina. I had someone playing TP just now, but all the different concerts that have been going on have now come to a stop, thankfully. So thanks again. As everyone knows, next week we will have our next two sessions with Dizan Billy, who is no stranger to Katrina and I, and perhaps some of you all here. And what Dizan will be doing in his sessions is essentially giving tips on how to plan online and in-person events, because of course something that we have to do now that we are focused on how to engage the group as members of it and also potential members. We want to have activities for them. So you all already know that we do our webinars, which is great, and we have, had a few successful webinars thus far, but we just want to reinforce some of those concepts and of course start planning in-person activities in everyone's respective countries. As you may or may not know, everyone should know by now, that we are separated by the Caribbean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, and all these bodies of water. So to say that we could really come together for like one event in the Caribbean. No promises just yet. Hint, hint, that is something that we are working on at the moment. But no promises, or I will not, say anything and then it doesn't materialize. But that is something that we are currently discussing with many of the organizations that are supporting the group thus far. But we want everyone to start planning activities in their respective countries and starting to meet each other, which is why we have been asking you all to have meetups. I think only one country so far, Grenada, has been able to do that. So we need to get other chapters to meet up and do things. But again, that is a conversation for next week. Thank you so much, Katrina. Thank you so much to everyone for taking the time to join today. For those, I am seeing some names that I have not seen before. Shavana, Dexter, Azazia, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. My sister's name is Azaria, so I guess and it is very close to that. No, I'm not putting you all on the spot for any pressure, but if you would have learned about the group through social media and you're between the ages of 18 and 35, you could also be 18 and 35, although 35 is the cutoff point, unfortunately. You could feel free to register for the group. That is the first step to membership. I've also included the WhatsApp group there where you could join us. That's for prospective members. And then we will share like the membership criteria and so on with everyone so you can know what it takes to become a full member, because unlike how groups usually work, this chapter isn't a chapter where you just register and become a member. There are some criteria and we just need to see some consistency. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and I will see you all next week. The recordings will be made available on our YouTube channel soon. Bye.
Goodbye.